Hi, Newsstream TV here. This is breaking news actually, and we are reporting about the...
We are in it again. In a few days' time, we are beckoning again primaries. I have seen all of us in this hall. All of us want to contest for one position or the other. But it will be one person at a time. So what should bother us now is if we succeed and I become the person, how will I manage those who did not succeed? And those who did not succeed, how will I manage my inability to succeed, knowing that there is another time? But the most important election that will make us true Nigerians, that will make us have voice at the national level, is the presidential election. So as a committed APC member, after May 29th next year, the question for those looking for federal appointment, for those looking for federal scholarship, for those who want one recommendation letter or the other, those who want to be favored because they are members of our party. The question is, how many votes did the Bola Tinubu score in your votes? We have gone digital now. As of today, we know who are members, registered members of our party by touching one button. After the elections, but through your name and your NIN, we will know your polling booth. One button, we will know how much APC scored in your booth. So it's no longer before you go to either or not, you take the result of another booth and come to Abuja and say it is the result of vote from Oru East. No. Nigerians know that APC has succeeded. Despite all the things, opposition has nothing to say. In Imo State, there is no opposition. Tell them, the Governor General, that is not under my watch. That I'm a certified licensed driver. Supervising the activities in this state. And they know that I know what they know. So, we want to help our people. We want to develop Imo State. We want to create prosperity. We want our children to go to good school. We want the hospitals to work. We want the schools to function. We want drinking water. We want electricity. We will first empower you. You the welder, you need light. You who wants to go to school, you need good school. You the teacher, you need the teaching facilities to teach well. When we do these social interventions and the society is functional, everything will follow. So it's not about personal interest anymore. So ambition is not a crime. Desire is not a crime. But we should be matured enough to know the realizable ambitions and the ones whose time has not come. And then with faith in God, we will manage and conduct ourselves well.
Dear Christian in the whole world and dear American President, dear European Union. This is Günther Fellinger Jan speaking. I'm calling here from Vienna to recognize the Republic of Biafra. Biafra in ex-Nigeria, Nigeria to my regret, and this is a non-working state, and they have committed genocide in 1967 to 1970 against the Christians of Biafra and the people of Biafra, and now they are all well. Since the last 15 years, living in a terrible conditions. They are often led for some jihadists to kill them, and there is atrocities about atrocities. And it's much better for the people of Nigeria if Biafra becomes their own state, and they can sort out then inside Nigeria the other issues, or maybe there will be other regions which are better off in this non-working state of Nigeria. So ex-Nigeria must start with Biafra, and the international community, contrary to the 1960s and 70s, must support the independence of Biafra Republic. In the 1967-90, in that tragic years, the West was at its weakest. There was the Vietnam War, and tragically Nixon, who was positive for the people of Biafra, but he did very little, and I want to apologize for his failures, and I want to especially criticize and also apologize for the Imperial UK and French governments who were actually supporting, due to all interests, Nigerian centralists crackdown on the poor people of Biafra. And we, as Christians, as Europeans, should absolutely stand with Biafra and support them. And that's why I call on President Trump and on the European leaders, Ursula von der Leyen, please, I beg you, I pray, recognize the Republic of Biafra. It's no need for military intervention or these things. Just do the political steps of recognition of these poor people to have their own state, to live in security, and of course then recognition goes with the ability to be recognized and also to defend yourself. It's much better than having a military intervention in Nigeria, having the Biafra Republic equipped and armed to be able to defend herself against the potential invasion from the Nigerian centralist forces of that failed state. And so here the defense comes with the recognition, and that's exactly how we should do. Biafra Republic, please, my friends, I beg you, recognize it and build a strong, viable state, part of the free world. And that's what I call the Fellinger Doctrine and also the Fellinger economics. Build a decent state, part of the free world, no BRICS, but OECD, no kind of alignment with genocidal Russia, but alignment with America, with the European Union, with the free world. And we will have a free trade agreement, open economics, of course the flat tax, I like very much, and the currency, which Nigeria never did, to join the Euro-Pact area. This is the best policy for West Africa, and Biafra will be a proud member of the Euro-Pact area, and this will be delivering much more prosperity in the future, and we will trade and we will work together in the global partnership of NATO, and this is my call for Biafra Republic to be independent and to be part of the free world, alongside Fellinger Doctrine and Fellinger economics. And I thank you very much for your attention. Please, President Trump, please, Ursula von der Leyen, be on the side of the light, of the good people of Biafra, of the Christians of Africa, and allow them their own state to live in security and peace and prosperity. Thanks a lot from Vienna. This is Günther Fellinger, Jan speaking. All the best. Bye.
They came home to ash, to rubble where their cities once stood, to silence where their children used to play. This is what defeat looks like. It was not just a war. It was a systematic dismantling of a people's dream, a dream called Biafra. And when the guns finally fell silent in 1970, the world expected the Igbo people to disappear quietly into the ruins. They did not. Soldiers patrolled their streets. Their currency became worthless overnight. Their officers unwelcome in the army they once controlled. Their civil servants stripped of positions they had built their lives around. Men like Cyprian Ekwensi, once director of information for Nigeria, is now walking the dusty roads, selling plastic bottles door to door just to survive. And yet, he walked those roads with his head held high. I have proved that I can do anything, he said, in any circumstance, against any desperate odds.
Mr. Kwenzi, I suppose you're a classic example of how the mighty fallen. You were Director of Information for the federal government and for Biafra. Now here you are selling plastic bottles around the country. What's it been like for you?
Well, I don't regard myself as an example of the mighty fallen, if that's the classification. The real thing is that at the end of the war, everybody started from scratch, and nothing was too menial for anyone to do in order to raise the most difficult commodity to find at the moment, which is money. And it takes a certain amount of courage to be able to do what people do not expect you to do. And I think I've proved the point. I have proved that I can do anything. And many people regard me as an example of the Igbo man who can do anything in any circumstance to fight against any desperate odds.
650,000 people crammed into a city built for half that number. Families living outside the hollow shells of broken vehicles. Children born into the wreckage of a war they never chose. And still, they moved on, like ants rebuilding after a storm. Hands reaching, markets humming, life insisting on itself. They said the Igbo were too clever, too ambitious, too competitive, too proud to be kept down. They were right, because those were the very qualities, the ingenuity, the refusal to surrender, the sheer unbreakable will to rise. Those became the tools of resurrection for Igbo.
There are still plenty of Nigerians who say that the Igbos are much too clever for anybody's good. That's really the reason they fought them during the war, to teach them a lesson, to show them they could neither expect to dominate Nigeria nor set up a country on their own. There's a Nigerian joke that says that the very word Igbo stands for I before others. Certainly the Igbos are competitive and aggressive. The merest look around the market here tells you that. But these are the very qualities they need to recover from the war. No one who was in Biafra during the fighting can doubt the Igbos' ingenuity, their sheer ability to get things done. The Commissioner for Economic Development here says the Igbos can't really expect to be like the Germans and Japanese, to emerge even more prosperous from the ashes of war. All the same, it could happen. It's already said that the Igbos will reach their pre-war level of economic activity by the end of next year. So though they may be down, the Igbos are definitely not out.
The federal government, headed by General Gowan, required all foreign service officers of Igbo extraction to take oath of allegiance to the federal government. And I refused to take the oath of allegiance to the federal government. You refused? I refused because I said that at that time, the program in northern Nigeria, the killing of Igbo people in northern Nigeria, and the exodus of Igbo people from Lagos and other parts of Nigeria back to the east, I expected the federal government to condemn those killings. And not only to condemn them, but to take action to stop the killings. It didn't do that. And I said to myself, there was no reason why, in good conscience, I could swear an oath of allegiance to the federal government.
No outside hands helped to rebuild what was destroyed in Igbo land. The Igbo rebuilt it themselves. Today, 30th of May, 2026, we do not gather to mourn in silence. We gather to remember with fire. We remember the mothers who fed armies on nothing, the engineers who built rockets from scrap metal, the doctors who performed surgery by candlelight, the engineers who built an airstrip in the middle of the forest in Uli, the fathers who planted seeds in bombed out soil, believing that something would grow. We remember the more than 5 million souls that never came home. Their names may have been buried, but their sacrifice never. They tried to write the Igbo out of history. They try to erase us, but history does not forget the people who refuse to die. Down, yes, but never out. To every Biafran hero, seen and unseen, celebrated and forgotten, your blood water the people who are still standing, still standing, still standing. Biafra Heroes Remembrance Day, May 30th, 2026. Maka ndị niile nwụrụ anwụ n'agha Nigeria busoro Biafra, for all those who fell during the Nigerian genocidal war against ndị Igbo, you will forever be remembered and your memory will always be cherished. This is Inuani Cultural Forum, and if you're just seeing our video for the very first time, please hit that subscribe button and strike the notification bell so that when we put out videos, you'll be among the first set of people to see the video. My name is Prince Onwodenim Ngozi Chukwuka Fortune. I will see you in my subsequent video.